Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Celtic Kickoff with me, Dan, and my lovely co-host Murray. Mate, how are you?
Um, I'm all right. Could be better. Let's be honest, could be a lot better. So fucking close. I know you don't like me swearing on this show, but sorry, I've
We can
had
make
to
it
do it.
this week.
Yeah.
I'm uh,
Mm.
I'm back from my travels. I spent a long weekend down south. Travelled down to the game
Mm.
at HQ, and yeah, the I was getting wound up by more than a few English fans while I was down there.
I can believe that. I believe that. Yeah. Eh.
Getting the new jokes back up north, mate. I was
Oh,
getting a lot of that.
I hate getting called jocks. I hate getting called sweaty socks. I hate getting called Scotch because that is a whiskey. There's just some stuff I'm like, don't call me that.
Yeah,
But
right,
anyway, we'll talk about the game since that's what we're here for.
right. Yeah, let's dive straight into this. Now, for those of you who've been living under a rock, Scotland lost the Calcutta Cup. We've held
No, no,
it.
no, 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 no. We're only letting them borrow it for the year.
Sorry, so yeah, we have lent England the Calcutta Cup for a year. Um, Scotland, England, up until last weekend, had only beaten us once in 8 years. And in reality, they shouldn't have beaten us this year. I think everybody's saying it from basically every nation on the day
Yeah,
the Belgium
I've seen it a
lost.
lot of the as a question, did England win it or did Scotland lose it? And the answer is Scotland lost it.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the reality of it. Um, before we start and go over the game review, right? I was actually going to do
Hmm.
a video on this, but people need to calm down with the stick that Finn Russell's getting.
Oh, it's one of the things why I hate like modern just the modern world. It's not even just rugby or Scottish rugby. It's in every aspect of the world. People just love to moan, think that they're entitled to an opinion. I mean, that's rich coming from two TikTok creators, but hey ho. It like
Well, yeah, entitled to an opinion, but calling for somebody to get sacked because they missed a kick. And when you watch it back, he missed it by a whisker,
oh yeah, yeah.
inches.
I don't get it. Like, yes, there's kicking. He left his kicking boots at home, but
Yeah.
everything else Finn Russell did was amazing. He controlled the tempo very well, like he does. He found
Mhm.
spaces, especially in that 13 channel, like he does. He put in some decent hits on the defensive end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought like if you take away the kick in at goal, solid 8 out of 10 performance.
Yeah. People say, oh, we should, be preparing for life after Finn Russell or replace him now or whatever, so the new
No,
guys for a World Cup. And I was like, okay, two things are, yeah, in professional sport, there will be a contingency plan because eventually Scotland are going to have to settle for life after Finn Russell. But
yeah,
that day's far away yet. Like, as much as Fergus Bart or Tom Jordan, they're not Finn Russell, and I've spoken to you off there about my love of Adam Hastings. As much as I love Hastings, there's a gulf between him and Russell.
there's
So
there's
it's
it's a very tight mix between like Hastings, Jordan, Burke, blah 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 blah. But the gap between like second, whoever you have as second, and Finn is it's like night and day. I'm not saying that whoever's in second is a bad player. It's just a whole different ball game.
yeah, totally different.
Mm.
Um, but that's one of the things. Well, I'll get down to later. That'll be one of the things we'll talk about. We'll quickly fly over the match. And so early in the first 5 minutes, Scotland were getting a lot of a lot of leeway down the right hand side, and Ben White was over. And as much he's another player I don't get the hate for. He's getting so much stick saying, "Oh, why is Ben White on?" First of all, his box kicking is exceptional. Secondly,
Mm.
he scored in every Six Nations game we've played so far. even the
Yeah.
games where we've not been playing well. What more do you want the guy to do?
It's also just I've not just this campaign, just since Ben White got capped. He is just such a good support runner.
Yeah. He's got an eye for tries as well. If you remember when
Yeah.
he came for Ali Price in the Calcutta Cup game a couple of years ago, where he came off the bench, he was only on the pitch while Ali Price was off getting, what was it, HIA, I think
Yeah.
it was, and he scored.
So to try.
So, at the start of the campaign, I mean, if you've got a long-term listener, you'll know I'm a big advocate for George Horn, and I wanted George Horn to start. But at the form that Ben White's playing, I can't keep a straight face and make a case for Horn starting over White. I mean, his box kicking's phenomenal, and he's scoring game after game. So I can't justify dropping Ben White
Yeah,
for
there's
anyone else.
absolutely zero reason to drop Ben White. And another player I'm going to get into, just purely based off round three. I don't care about all time stats. I don't care about who's in form or whatever or fan favourites.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to drop Kyle Rowe for the Wales game because Kyle
No.
Rowe literally did nothing wrong. If you're going to complain that he got held up at the end, Maro told you had his arms around him.
Also, who was it that had their arms? He was in basically a headlock at the end, and that shouldn't have even gone over. Another thing the ref missed, like he was held around the neck while being pulled out,
Yeah.
so he couldn't not pull back. He was getting pulled by the neck. There's a lot
But
of players.
even if he isn't getting held by the likes of like I told you, who's a big lad compared to Kyle Rowe. If
Yeah,
you've got, it's the same with like a couple of years ago when Duhan had Ans Capozzo, and he's just
yeah.
holding him up like how you hold a child essentially.
The one thing did annoy me about that. The once he was held up, the Scottish players were late to react to it, and when they
Mm.
did go storming in, they started pushing it towards
Yeah.
line out. I didn't get when nobody ran round the other end and started pushing the other way.
Oh, no. There was a few moments like that during the game that I'm saying, why have they
Yeah,
done that?
there's more
Like,
than a couple of brain farts.
so like Rory Darge just flat out lifting. I believe it was Tom Curry he lifted.
Yeah,
The initial lift was actually all right. Hell of a clear out.
mm.
Put him down safely or go with him. Don't just. It's not your bag of shopping.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
he was in at the side as well. But let's be honest,
I don't
he
see
was
that bit, but
well in at the side.
fair enough. And then I spoke to you about it in the car once I picked you up yesterday. You and Ashman, 5 minutes to go. We need to score,
Oh
and he does an
no,
out the back
yeah,
pass
that
that
annoyed the hell out of me. What's a hooker doing? Well, behind the back pass when he's got
not
was it
even
two
just
or
that.
three runners on his outside?
Not even just that. It was miles forward. It didn't go any quicker than it like a normal pass would have. It was like these slow, like an out the back pass was meant to bang. This kind of just floated.
The guy clearly has potential, but this is what I mean. Like back when we were talking about the Johnny Matthew days, where I'm saying he's years away from being our number one yet. Like mentally, Ashman has got loads and loads of time to mature.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's why Cherry starts. And unfortunately, Richardson's out because if Richardson was in, would Ashman be in the squad or would it be Cherry and Dylan Richardson?
But like even that's a good question. But even like Paddy Harrison, who's younger than Ashman, I don't feel like would chuck an out of the
No,
back pass.
no.
Not at that time anyway.
Before we do like a player rating or whatever, I want to mention three players. You've already mentioned one of them that I feel don't get a lot of credit for Scotland usually.
Go on
Um,
then.
and I think they had fantastic games. You've already talked about Kyle Rowe. He was everywhere. Superman, high balls. He loves a chip and chase that we never actually saw during that game. He's got low centre of gravity. And look, we spoke about this on the drive back from the airport. Um, as much as Darcy Graham and Kyle Steyn will both probably be fit for Wales, you can't take off a Rowe. You start
No,
Rowe.
there's absolutely nothing. there's no reason. If you can go, oh,
Um,
but Kyle Stein's back. So what? Kyle Stein's not played since January, since we were at the Glasgow game.
Rowe was phenomenal. And look, I'm a huge fan of Stein. He's my favourite winger. I mean, I thought before the campaign, before he got injured, I was saying that I thought he was our best winger. But with the form that Duhan's in and how good Rowe started, you can't take it off. And yeah, look, I'll hold my hands up. I don't think I ever slated Duhan, but I did say horses for courses,
Mhm.
or maybe he's weak under the high ball and stuff like that. But look, as a Scotland fan, when you point out a weakness of someone and they see it themselves and they sort it out, I'm not one of these people that are going to double down. Like, I'll hold my hands up, be like, I'm glad he's proved me wrong. At the end of the day, I want Scotland to be better
Yeah.
game on game. But going on to other players, ex-captain Jamie Ritchie, I thought had a phenomenal game.
Could I just say, for
Mhm.
someone like you just said, former captain, you've seen it time and time again. If you lose the captaincy, you're starting to fall out of favour in the squad,
Yeah,
and it's really hard to then pluck yourself back in.
yeah,
Jamie Ritchie has took that on his stride, and he is an absolute dog, and I
yeah.
love it. He takes no shit. He's a great line-out operator that I don't think many people realised until now. And we've talked
Mhm.
about it for like people have spoken about it for years. He loves a turnover.
Yeah. He's great on the floor.
It's
Absolutely.
so good.
The thing is, he was great under the high ball as well.
Yeah,
That's one thing I noticed. Every time there was a contestable kick, he was there. Like, he wasn't catching it. He was, volleyball slapping it
yeah,
back.
yeah. I was about to say that him and again, I want this for Edinburgh as well. That Duhan and Jamie Ritchie seem to have this nice cohesion. That right, Jamie, if you're going to go, if you're ahead of Duhan, slap it back so Duhan will get it. Duhan, if you're in front, slap it back so Jamie's there, and it
Yeah.
works. Majority of
Mm-hmm.
the time, it works.
Yeah, because I mean, for a flanker, he is quite tall. He's what, 6'4"?
6'4", yeah, big
Yeah,
top.
he's a big lad. And another player, this player really very rarely gets a shout out. And considering he wasn't meant to be in the squad and he was dropped in last moment, I thought Jamie Batty was very good.
Yeah, yeah, I forgot Rory Sutherland got injured about an hour
Especially
and a half
because
before.
we were getting bullied up front, um, and he was one of our better forwards on the day, um, in an area that we were losing a battle to. And I just thought I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more of Jamie Batty. And as far
Mm.
as I'm aware, Batty can play both sides of the scrum, so I wouldn't
Oh, yeah,
mind.
I've heard you say. Yeah, I've heard you say this. To my knowledge, I'm not familiar. I've only ever seen him on the loose side, but I'm sure if anyone could do it, Batty probably could.
Yeah, I don't. I hope I'm not wrong on that. I can't remember where I got it from, but I'm pretty sure he can play both sides of the scrum. But if he can, like, I wouldn't mind him being the backup to Fagerson. When Suz is back fit, you'd
Would make
start
sense just
Keating
for that,
in Fagerson, and then you'd have Suz and Batty as your replacements.
bit of experience as well. Yeah, no, that's fair. I agree
And
with
he's a
that.
big lad. He's got a bit of heft about him.
And he gets called the Wombat for reasons.
Yeah. He didn't have another nickname, something to do because he used to work in an abattoir.
I don't know. You know more than me now.
uh, Other than that, like, Scotland's back three in general, I thought overall fantastic.
Mm. I
Kinghorn,
agree. There's one player you've
especially.
not. Sorry, I'll let you go on about more. Just because there was one player you've not mentioned, but I'll let you
Okay.
talk about that.
But I mean, I think all of Scotland's backs were phenomenal. Like, there wasn't one back that I thought had a bad game, but Blair Kinghorn was everywhere. He was
Mm.
distributing, he was field kicking, he was setting up a couple of tries. He was fantastic under the high ball. Um, Although, and I'm not sure if this comes with the experience or whatever, my only caveat to that is he struck me a bit like Hogg. And I said this to you on the way home, and not all the bad stuff to do with Hogg. But if you remember when Stuart Hogg felt like he had to do everything himself back when we weren't as good. Kinghorn
Yeah,
came across like
you've mentioned
he
them.
felt like he had to force it himself. I know, go and use mouthwash after the pod.
God, have a
But I've been,
word with yourself, boy. No,
yeah.
I
So,
I get what you're meaning. Though. I do get what you're meaning.
mhm.
Um, on the big positive though, we do have a superstar, and his name's Tom Jordan. Because oh my God,
Yeah, really, really like him at 12. I do.
mm.
Just as that uh, second distributor. Like, look, he's not as physical as Tui Pilotu, but his distribution's probably a little bit better. Just because, Tui Pilotu can't play 10, Jordan can.
Mm.
Um, and look, I think when Tui Pilotu comes back in, he goes back in at 12. I don't think Jordan's good enough in that position to keep someone of Tui Pilotu's
No, but
class
again,
out.
it's a good
But he's not
answer to
making a
come off.
straightforward decision.
Yeah, and it's always a good thing to have off the bench. That if you go like, oh no, Fiona's hurt, or Finn's not doing great, or Blair's having an off game, Tom Jordan comes on. Awesome.
Yeah.
TJ has been so good, not just this campaign. I mean, like he's took international rugby like a duck to water, and I've kind of got some stick from it, but I'm double down on it because I couldn't care less. I see him as a Lions bowler,
Yeah, I do too. I mean, look, I don't
but
think he starts, but he's definitely a bolter.
he's a bowler in the aspect of if Sione can't get a good run of games before the squad's announced, Tom will be on that tour. If Sione comes back like nothing's changed, Sione goes and Tom will be at home. Well, not at home. He'll be with Scotland in the
Yeah.
Pacific Islands. You know what I mean? But I think he's good enough. And when I say Lions bowler, I don't mean he's playing the Wallabies in the Test series. Have him play against the Reds or the Western Force, something like that. When I say being a Lion, I just mean they're
He's
going
on
on that
flight.
flight. Yeah, they're on the flight.
That's all right there. The Irish don't listen to our podcast. You won't get much stick for
They all look like a tear. They all look like I'm bothered.
it. I've lost my train of thought there. Oh, it's gone. It's gone. But actually, there it is. So Tui Pilotu comes back, right? Let's just go for the autumn because the All Blacks is back. They're all in great form. Tom Jordan, does he get anywhere on the team? Like, if Tuplot is back to his old form, Finn Russell's in his normal form, and so is Kinghorn. Can Tom Jordan muscle his way into any of those positions, or
I
do
think
you
he
think
can, yeah.
who does he usurp?
I don't know, but I can't clamp down who he can take it from. But I know that you can see it in him. He's not there just to. I'm not there to hold a tackle bag. I'm here to. That's my jersey.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
I don't.
you've seen it. You've seen how he did it at Glasgow. He was nowhere to be seen. He was
Yeah,
so far down the pecking order at Glasgow Warriors.
he was with Sterling Wills at one point. Was it Sterling Wills
No,
played for?
no, he
He
was at
played
Air.
Air.
Ayrshire Bulls.
Air for Wills.
But yeah, got invited to a couple of training sessions at Glasgow Warriors, got into this team, got signed, um, would make cameo appearances off the bench, would make the sporadic start when no one was there. And Adam left, and they went, Tom's our 10.
That's again. This is one thing. I don't know how he spots so many of them, but Franco is fantastic for spotting players like Agunta Beju, Ewan Ferry, Tom Jordan, and just getting them in. He is incredible at
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, Tom Jordan is a superstar. He has took international waters, international rugby like a duck to water,
that.
and he's just getting better and better. He's getting more comfortable. I really cannot wait to see what he does at Bristol Bears next year because it does beg the question of where the fuck does he play? Do you have him at 10? As a long term 10, do you have him replace AJ McGinty? Do you have him in the midfield alongside Bernard Jans van Rensburg? Do you have him at fullback? Because Max Mayland is now leaving. There's a lot of moving parts, but
Yeah,
I'm sure Pat Lam's already got a plan, so we shall
yeah,
see.
covers all three. Well, it's just what you do with it now. A tough one. Do you see Franco Smith was down at the dam the other day? The Scottish rugby put him.
Yeah, because Glasgow and Edinburgh trained together for some reason. They just decided to do. It was nothing. People were like, "Is this clickbait? What's going on?" I'm like, no, it tells you they're training together.
Oh,
There's
okay.
none of the teams had anything better to do, so they went, "Do you want to do a little like bit more physical training session against one another?"
Yeah, the
Probably.
SRU are getting Franco to give Sean Everett a couple of tips, are they? So this
Couldn't
is how
hurt.
you coach. Here are the basics.
Couldn't hurt. I mean, even just because you've mentioned him, like he came out today about because we're back to club rugby this weekend. And he was like, "Oh, we're hopeful that we can get some internationals back." I'm like, "Oh my God, we know you're getting internationals back. It's probably going to be the same bunch that came back to lose against Zebre. You're not getting any of the big hitters." I read that he was hopeful that they could snag Darcy Graham back. You're fucking joking me. If you think Darcy Graham's getting to come back for Edinburgh during the Six Nations, not happening.
Oh, who've Glasgow got this weekend? I've not actually checked yet.
Ospreys,
Ospreys.
Ospreys, Scotstoun, yeah.
Okay, so Ospreys at home a
Hmm.
month away. Especially after Zebra. But yeah, so look, let's talk about some of the big talking points that have gone over, and I think the two big ones that come out of the weekend is Russell and Tooney. I think we've talked about Russell um, a little bit.
I think
Where
the best way to nip it in the bud with Finn Russell is form's temporary, class is permanent. That's how I've said it on my videos like all
yeah,
week.
he had two tough kicks, and yeah, he missed one sitter. There's no way about that. He got
Mm.
26 out of 27 last campaign.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so there's a lot of pressure on Townsend now. After what happened, I think Franco has applied some of it. I heard Tom English on BBC talking about how he thought it wasn't the right thing for Franco to do the way that he came out after the Dragons game and essentially said to the SRU, use me or lose me.
Mm.
So we're at a position where we all know that the SRU forced Vern Cotter out because, what was it? Gregor Townsend was getting looked at by Harlequins at the time, and they didn't want to lose the only good coach they had in Scotland, so they pushed Vern Cotter out and brought in Gregor Townsend. Could they be doing the
Yeah,
same thing?
I don't actually know how true that is because I always read that like Vern just doesn't sign contract extensions.
That's what BBC reported anyway. Um,
I don't know. I could be wrong. I've always kind of noticed that, like say, like the Fiji deal, he signed a 2 year deal, and that
yeah.
was it. That was him. And it just feels like because like when he was at Clermont, when he got appointed as Scotland head coach, Scotland went, "Can we get him now?" And
mhm,
he went, "No, I finish in the summer." And it was just like, "No, I've got that contract." And then, I mean, I could be wrong. I always just thought Gregor was the best option away from Vern, and Vern
mhm,
went, "By the way, I'm not re-signing because it's just something he doesn't do."
mhm.
And then
Uh,
when Townsend was going through that rough period, I want to say before COVID,
mhm,
right? People were calling for his head and bring back Vern. I'm like, Vern won't come back because he's already done his spell. He's no intention of not that they ended on bad terms or anything. It just feels like that's something Vern Cotter's done his whole career. That yeah, cool. I'm here for 4 years, or I'm here 2 years, or whatever.
mhm.
I don't know. I could be very wrong in that, and they might have pushed him out. But
As
from
far as I'm aware, that's what happened. That he's pushed out. He might not. It might not be that he signed contract extensions, but look, I think there's a lot that goes on. You might just find that Vern Cotter's got quite an iron fist. It's like he gets everything he wants or he moves. I'm
I mean,
not.
Stern Vern is his nickname, so
Yeah. I mean, like if Vern Cotter got a big international job, I can't see him just going, nah, I've had my 2 years, I'm off. Like I just don't see it happening.
I don't
But
know.
anyway,
Anyway, yeah.
to go round,
Do you think
uh,
we're doing? There's one question. Do you think we're doing that again with like trying to fit
yeah,
both
yeah,
teams
there's a lot of people that have been annoyed with him. Let's be honest, far before Franco Smith declared he was interested.
See, the
Um,
bit that's annoying me, and again, it's not your fault. It's not Tom English. It's not mine. It's not the media's fault. I don't see why if you're starting to. Obviously, nobody knows that Glasgow's going to win the URC and that Franco would be this big success and blah blah
yep,
blah. Don't offer your head coach a new extension when you're already thinking of a replacement. That's just my logic. If you've got a bit in the back of your mind that like Franco Smith could be the Scotland head coach, don't offer Townsend that contract. His contract was up at the end of the World Cup.
I thought it was a weird time to have his contract end in 2026, which is only a year out from a World Cup. I know it's more like a year and a half,
Yeah,
but still, you'd think if you were going to be sensible, you would have had it end this year because that's once you get halfway through a World Cup cycle, you want to
mm,
give the new coach at least half a cycle to bed in his long term plans before you do anything.
yeah.
And look, I will say, regardless if they're going to replace Townsend or not, you can't change him during a campaign,
We're not
right?
Wales. We're not as bad as Wales, so
Yeah.
don't do that.
You have to keep him in place for the rest of the campaign because it doesn't do Scotland very well and it derails Glasgow as well halfway through a season. So even if you were going to offer Franco Smith the job, it would have to be done quietly behind closed doors, and you say to Franco, "Look, you take over after the domestic season is done." Um,
Yeah,
and then I,
you'll be in charge of Scotland by the time we face Maori All Blacks. And I'm only using them as the example because that's the only one that's been announced for the summer so far.
yeah. So by the time we face the Maori All Blacks, which I can't remember the date of it, but take like Glasgow might
12th,
go
I
deep
think.
in Europe. They may run all the way to the URC final again. Who I'm expecting to go to the URC final again. So if they make it that far in the season, you don't want to derail that.
No.
Um, I did a whole long explainer on it, like my thoughts on it for anyone that hasn't seen it. Is I actually quite like Gregor Townsend. I think he's a
Mhm.
fantastic coach. I think we have to be grateful for how far along he has brought Scotland and how many hoodoos he's
I'm so glad
broken.
you said that.
Um, and he has brought us a long way, but at the
Mm.
same time, we're now no longer improving as quickly as the sides around us. So when I say I'm going to say refer to them as our peers, the other Six Nation sides, because that's the measuring stick.
Mm.
Um, and after 8 years in charge, things do get a little bit stale. And it's not his fault, but it feels like Scotland have plateaued a little bit now.
I can't see. This is the difference. When I say like people are annoying me, I genuinely don't mean you.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a running joke that you
Oh,
think you,
it's just fine. I know what you mean.
but
But
like,
explain to the listener.
because you explain it. I get constant comments of, and I will call them Muppets, of Townsend's not got a clue, get him out. And I'm like, why? Because he didn't pick your favourite player. That's not a reason. That's
No.
a vendetta. There's a big difference between, look,
Hashtag Johnny Matthews.
but you know what I mean? Like, but that is some people's logic. I had last week, why does Townsend hate George Horn? Sorry? He doesn't hate George Horn. Because if he hated George Horn, he wouldn't be in the Scotland team. Full stop.
Hashtag Johnny Matthews.
He
Yeah.
he might hate Johnny Matthews. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just sort of casting my
No, no.
50 out
But like,
there. For the comments, I'll get into that.
there is genuinely people that oh, he's not picked this player, get him out. Shut up.
Yeah,
That's not a reason to get rid of a head coach.
but
And especially like even at the build up to the Calcutta Cup, there was people, and again I can't vouch for everyone, but people in my comment section were like, "Oh, why is he starting Jamie Ritchie? Why wouldn't you start Jamie Ritchie?" And then look at what the performance he did. I'm like, well, don't you
I've
look
got a
silly?
point about that I'm going to bring up later about Jamie Ritchie. But you're right, you had a fantastic game.
It just annoys me when people don't like. If you can sit down and explain to me why you think Townsend needs to go, or we need to start looking forward, fine. Like what Dan has done, Dan's without getting aggressive. He's not letting his feelings show. He's just stating how he sees it, and it's fine. I'm not arguing with him. I don't particularly agree with him, but I
Can't
get where he's coming. But I get where he's coming from. Whereas there is people online on Facebook and just every time, especially when Scotland lose, doesn't matter
mm.
how big the margin is. There's Townsend's not got a clue, get him out, blah blah blah. And I'm like, shut up.
See
Just
my thing with it, right? And I've struggled to put this into words. We get odd losses. I think we had that one loss consistently last year. Um, we've got a we lost to the USA. We've had more than a few losses where we should have won to Wales. And I've always said that, oh, you know, he's evened it out slightly, the Wales games with the victories against France, right? He's got the same amount of victories against France as he does defeats against Wales. And
mm,
that for every game that we lose to Italy or lose to, what's the other one I just said? USA, I want to see a big scalp on there to even out the scales. Like a New Zealand or a South Africa or an Ireland. And look, I'm no daft. I know these teams are better teams than us, but I'd like us to be being competitive. Beating them. Even if it was once in every 4 games that we played them, that we got one over on them, one in every 5 even. And if the ones we lost, we got competitive. I just think that we we get a lot more under Townsend, a lot more sucker punches given to us than we
mm.
take.
That's not
Uh,
dependent on him. That's
yeah, so
I get
that's
I understand that the blame has to go somewhere. But like people at the weekend, like, oh Townsend needs to go because of this. I'm like, wait a minute. What exactly are you and it works for every coach. And I'm not actually a bit hypocritical at this point because I bash Sean Everett each week. But
mm,
like when the team are playing shit on the field, and I'm not even saying Scotland were shit at the weekend because we played some really good rugby. We're just unfortunate.
Scotland were really good.
But
Uh,
like, what are you wanting the head coach to do at that point? He's not on the field. He's not at the side barking orders. He's in a box quite high up. I mean, it's not even like they're the best seats in the stadium, is it? Let's be honest.
I'm not sure if I sent you that picture. I found out where Townsend sat because I was just right across from him, and I was able to
Mm.
zoom right up to Townsend's face at one point during the game. But look, I'll do one more thing on it before we move on. But I think one of the reasons a lot of the noises are so loud for him now is because Franco Smith has declared, and I think there's a bit of panic that people are like, "Oh no, we're we're going to lose the opportunity to have him in." And the way that I see it is, Franco Smith said what he said. Now you can't take it back. That's out. He's taken the genie out of the
Mm.
bottle. He will not be at Glasgow Warriors next season. He will be
Oh, he's pretty much put that
Scotland
crystal
or
ball
he'll
anyway.
be elsewhere. He will not be at Glasgow next year. As much as I'd love him
But
there,
like, this is
um,
another thing people don't think about.
mm-hmm,
What if was, and again, I'm just going off like history. Like Gregor Townsend won the year, well, Pro 12 at the time with
yeah.
Glasgow. He was the best man for the job, and now people are calling for his head. Not everyone, but there's a lot of people like wanting him gone.
Mm.
How do you know Franco Smith's going to be any different?
I think I mean, okay,
Do you know what I mean? Though, like,
I
yes,
see your point. I mean, if I was to play devil's advocate and be the counterbalance again, right?
mm,
The URC is a harder competition to win than the Pro 12. And Glasgow took the hardest route possible
No, I
to
know,
do it. We
but
started off the Stormers away to the champions in the semi final and then away to Loftus to win
no,
it.
I know. I understand all that. I'm just saying though, like, let's just say Franco Smith takes the Scotland head coach job.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee that it's going to make anything better. There's also no
No.
guarantee it's going to be worse. It's just, do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? But that's, I suppose
Well,
that's sport.
there's
That's
two
the risk
schools
you
of
take.
thought when it comes to Gregor, right? It comes rather, and people I see online split in the middle between this. You rather think he's underperforming with the squad of players that he's got constantly, and we need to change. And then there is a school of people that think that essentially we're a bit rubbish and we have a very small pool of players, and that Townsend's actually overachieving. And if you got rid of Townsend, we'd be down fighting for the wooden spoon again.
Well,
So it,
that's kind of what I just said, in a way.
mhm.
I
But
don't know. I'm not a Townsend out person, but like if Scottish Rugby were to announce by the end of the campaign, regardless of results, Gregor Townsend is finished. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you for your time. And I know that sounds very PR answered of me, but I don't have a bad thing to say about Gregor Townsend. He has
neither
been
do
more
I.
success. He's had more success than Vern Cotter. Love him or hate him for that. Yes, Vern got us to a quarter final. That's it. He never beat England. We never won a Calcutta Cup under Vern Cotter.
Beat the
We
Irish
need
though.
people. Joe Schmidt's Irish.
Yeah, yeah. Although, look, again, if I have to play devil's advocate, that you can argue that Gregor Townsend's got a much better roster of players at his disposal than Vern Cotter did.
Not really. A lot of those players were still there. Not
Yeah,
there's
I
not a
mean,
big there's not a big change between the 2015. Like I mean, like a whole overload change. Like there's not a massive shift.
well, the last 10 years, I think the depth is
The
a
depths
look.
have got stronger. The depths have got better, but like the main key parts from like Townsend's squad and Vern's squad, there's not much of a difference.
Look, I mean,
I
the
don't think.
argument for this is that if for people that want Franco, it's that he's won the title. The spine is now built. The spine of Scotland's now built around Glasgow, and
Hmm.
he's with the players. He knows how to get the best out of them, and that's probably why they want them in. But at
I
the
get that.
same, I Franco is good at identifying players, right, to bring through. And we've spoken about this when we were chatting about the Stags,
Hmm.
which, for those of you that don't know, was our hypothetical third pro team for Scotland. We've both put videos on it. Go look it up. It'll be too long to explain again. But I do
Right.
think the Scottish rugby is not far away from the ceiling it can be only having two teams. I don't think there's much better that this, other than the way that they're coached, but without bringing through more players and give more players professional game time, we're
Hmm.
approaching the ceiling now. Because our best players we already have to ship out to England and France as it is, just to make room for people to come through in Scotland.
Hmm.
So,
But then there is there is genuinely no money, and people are like, "How come there's no money?" It's quite simple. Because the women are professional as well. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's a fantastic thing because the
yeah,
women are improving.
that's not the reason that they've got no money. They've got no money because they're poorly managed and their executives were taking multi-million-pound bonuses even when
Okay.
they were making losses. I
But
mean,
like we are funding.
restructured it. He says he will in 2 or 3 years, but the SRU at the top level has been badly managed.
I think everyone at the top level is poorly managed. If you really like look into especially the home nations, if you look at the ins and outs, it's not great.
Other than the Irish, I mean, the Irish are run like a well-oiled machine. But
Yeah, now.
we're not as bad as England or Wales. To be fair to us, England and Wales are a dumpster fire compared to the way that we are run.
Mm. But
So
like, I think people forget that like we run like we don't have like the Premiership teams have like owners. Yes, they have to answer to the RFU, but they have like private owners.
Mm-hmm.
Scottish Rugby owns Edinburgh and Glasgow, deals with
Yep.
all the salary. They also have an Edinburgh and Glasgow women's team now. They've also got the whole national women's program.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot going on for only two teams essentially.
And if you ever want a third pro team or you want Scottish Rugby to grow, the best thing you could do is actually go get down to the games yourself, start supporting your team. The more bums we get on seats for Scottish Rugby, the more Scottish Rugby grows.
I will say
Um,
though, especially on a national level, men and women,
mm,
best crowds. We have the best fan base
yeah, I
because even though we've not won a Six Nations in 25 years, or even let's be honest, really pushed for one either. In all
yeah,
honesty,
we've not even been on the hunt on Super Saturday.
Murrayfield is always sold out.
Yeah,
Always sold out. Even Portugal in the autumn had over 60,000. Wasn't a sellout, but for a game like that, that's insane.
Gregor Townsend, I saw on a video, said something about that, and he was saying when he very first took over a Scotland coach, when we were playing these teams, that they'd have to tour the country, go to like Rugby Park in Kilmarnock
Yeah.
or up to Pittodrie and that, and they might not even sell out those games. And now that we're getting 60,000 for a game against Fiji, but I mean, it's a great day out. It's a fantastic day out. When I was down in Twickenham, I went with my dad, and my dad is by no means a rugby fan. He's enjoying it more as he gets older. But you know, he's a football fan. But like, he was, even though Scotland lost, he was raving about it the whole way home, saying how it was one of the best sort of days out he's had in years, and that he'd
You
love
know
to go
what?
to rugby games.
Just because I'm just thinking about this now, looking at the autumn, and I know I'm really jumping the gun here, just for attendance wise,
Mm-hmm.
Scotland USA could genuinely sell out. Look how many American students are over in Scotland. Just on that alone, the
Maybe.
tourism, the tourism that that America brings,
Mm-hmm.
and you just happen to be here, and the USA are playing Scotland in the national stadium. Yeah, buddy, woo!
Do you think Murrayfield should experiment? We're trying to do a halftime show just because it's America.
Why not?
Uh, no, who would we get? I know, obviously, we're not going to get Kendrick Lamar going to Murrayfield, going not like us, but like who
Yeah,
would
I
get
mean,
like
you'd have to start. I got asked this because this was kind of my idea for the 1872, how to make it bigger.
mm, a
And
halftime
I
show?
did, yeah, I did it. I took it from the big game that Twins do
Mm,
because they've had like Rudimento and Joe Corey and blah 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 doing it. So I'm like, well, you'd have to start like known to Scottish people, and then gradually work your way up. So like, I think I used Nathan Evans for example to start
mm,
it because he's massive in Scotland. It's always tour sellout like that. Like you cannot get tickets to a Nathan Evans show.
mm.
All his songs are on the radio. He would do a good 15-minute set. You could then get a bigger name like the likes of like Amy McDonald. Again, not
Yeah,
huge, but oh shit, Amy McDonald's doing Murrayfield at halftime.
you could. I mean, if you want old school, you get the Proclaimers in,
The
maybe
Framers,
the
yeah.
Kellys.
Well, just Chelsea Dagger for 15 minutes.
Well, Henrietta. There's a couple they could do.
You can see if you want to go nuts. You can go Biffy Clyro. You can go Jerry Cinnamon. You can go Calvin Harris. There's a lot of artists
Lou
coming from Scotland.
Capaldi.
It'd be a big task in its current state, but yeah, but like yeah,
If you want to think outside the box, right, tell what you could do. And I reckon you could sell Murrayfield out twice over and do two separate tickets for it if that's how you really wanted to ramp up money. Hope you're listening here, SRU. um, if you got someone like Kevin Bridges to do a comedy show, and you know how they do the weekend passes, and you just had him sort of walk up and down the touchline, or fuck, he walk on the pitch in a pair of boots, right? And he did one of his stand-up performances. But he said, "Oh yeah, pay an extra 20 quid. You can come in a couple of hours early. You could have an additional 60,000, I reckon, 67,000 there to watch Kevin Bridges do a comedy thing, and they're all buying beers. They're all around the
I
stadium
don't
getting
think
merch and everything like that."
I get where you're coming. I don't think he's that big to do a stadium that size.
Tour was in Glasgow. How big? And down in London, how big crowds he gets.
It's not 70,000. I can tell you that for nothing.
He sold it the O2.
There's at least half.
I'm not
I don't know
sure.
exact.
He
I
got
don't
the
know
ground
exact.
as well. I'd have to Google it after the show. But look, let's just say he
I
got
get you. I
four.
get what you're trying though. I do get
Yeah,
what you're meaning though.
but
But isn't that the aim? Is that not what Scottish Power want to do?
well, that's what they want to do. They're trying to redevelop the stadium, and they can't. They say they can't afford just to knock it down and build a new one, but they're going to upgrade it in segments. But one of the things they want to do is they want to go down the American model of how do we get fans into the game early? How do we get them sticking around, having more beers, buying more merchandise, just soaking up the atmosphere? And I mean, there's easy way to. I've said to you before, like if they were to set up like they had them down in Twickenham, a couple of massive, tents with TVs and stuff like that. And because there's a Six Nations game on beforehand, if I could get a pint, sit at a table, and it cost me about the same price as it would in a pint in Edinburgh, I would just head straight for the ground. I wouldn't bother
Yeah.
going around some of the places. Now, if they had entertainment or shows on, and look, this was just an idea that came to the top of my head. But let's just say they did a live at the Apollo thing, or they had a couple of comedians on, or they had a bit of a concert on. You know, I'll do Kevin Bridges because that was my example. Let's just say Kevin Bridges was there and he was performing, and a pair of studs just walked on the pitch at Murrayfield 3 hours before kickoff, or 4 or 5 hours before kickoff. I'd probably go down and watch it. And I've already done and watched a comedy show, had got a bit of a buzz on and get a good time, and now I'm really hyped up for the match when it comes on. And even if the result doesn't go your way, you can say, "Do you know what? I've had a really good day."
Mm. Good idea. Anyway, we're sidetracking left, right, and
Right.
center.
So we are sidetracking. I'm going to go back to um, one last thing on Townsend, just because I've got it written on my little blackboard here. This isn't tuning out or anything like this. The bits that annoyed me, right, and I've gone through this before, is Toonie went for a 6-2 split again. And I said some blue in my face, Scotland almost always lose when we go 6-2 split. And we only ever go 6-2 splits to teams that Townsend considers better than us. We only do it usually against the top four, really. And then everyone else, we go 5-3. And then as soon as I saw 6-2 down, I was like, nah. And look, I get that, this was to counter England's forward game, but you know how much I like Rory Darge and Jamie Ritchie. Now, Jamie Ritchie had a fantastic game, and I don't want people going, "Hey, you had a good game," when I say this. You can play Darge or Dempsey if you're playing a team as big and physical as England. You can't play both of them together. It makes your path. Sorry, Darge or Ritchie. Sorry, I've got something Dempsey written down here. You play Darge or Ritchie. You can't play them together just because they're both great on the floor. They're both great turnovers. They're both tackling machines, but they're slightly lightweight for flankers. So you can get away with playing one of them. You can't play both of them together. And I remember in the second half when England were driving us back, and I'm thinking to myself, Matt Fagerson needs to come on here. I thought he was going to come on for Darge or Ritchie. And then it was like, coming onto the field, Matt Fagerson. I was like, yes, coming off, Jack Dempsey. No! And it was just as like, we were getting bullied up front and everybody could see it. And what does he do? Goes and makes our pack lighter. I'm just thinking, I love Matt Fagerson, and he's a big boy, and he's a big boy for number 6. But I still think he's lightweight for a number 8.
Question.
Uh-huh.
Just because you're on about how you don't like Townsend using the 6-2.
Yep.
Franco Smith uses a 6-2. Like almost like religiously uses a 6-2.
But different teams at their disposal. Scotland's game plan is more backs orientated.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. And it's not like that's going to change with the backs that we've got.
Mm-hmm.
So Franco Smith's going to come in. He's not going to do a 5-3.
You don't know that. You don't know what style Franco's going to play when he goes to Scotland. We're doing this
I
on
imagine the Glasgow way. I do imagine it. I'm just saying. I
yeah
imagine he's just going to go like that and
yeah
get the Edinburgh boys, get Finn and Blair, and like this is how we do things. And the Glasgow boys are obviously just sitting there like, mm-hmm,
No, I mean,
which is
look,
fine.
Frank was a
Could work.
fantastic coach. It's horses for courses here. I would be very surprised. Like a good coach doesn't n- not adapt his formula. Franco's smart enough to play the best game plan with the players he's got at his disposal.
Just don't 7-1 spot it. That's all I'm saying. 5-3, 6-2, cool beans. Don't
Seven,
don't bloody
yeah,
7-1 it. I know it
it's
worked. I know it worked for Springboks, and I know France slapped the brakes off Italy at the weekend, but
hmm,
don't. I'm really not a fan of 7-1s because like 6-2 is already ballsy enough. You're
yeah,
trusting the versatility of your bench, especially in the backs. If you're trusting one back, and like I'm going to use the example from the Ireland game. What if you lose two?
yeah.
What do you do
Two
then?
in one group.
What back row is going to play centre?
It's yeah, 6-2 is already ballsy enough. It's just
Yeah. Anyway, I think we should round off here,
mhm.
unless you've got any more points about Townsend.
No, no, that's it. I mean, we've gone backwards and forwards. I meant to say that a bit earlier. That's my last
Fine.
bit.
We've kind
Should
of
we, before we finish up though,
mm,
um, should we go through our? Actually, no, we'll leave that for next week. What we should do though is give a very, very slight touch on the URC coming this
I
weekend.
don't wanna. I don't wanna.
I'll go through it for you. Munster are hosting Edinburgh. Um, and after Edinburgh getting beat by Zebra, I don't have any hope of Edinburgh going over
I
there and
haven't. I haven't
Munster.
a clue. I don't know what to expect. I don't. I generally haven't a clue. I'd
No.
love to see us beat Munster. I know it's not at Thomond Park. Is it that? Was it Virgin Media Park or whatever? Like
Oh,
the
are they playing
20,000.
them in Cork, are they?
Yeah,
To
that's
Limerick.
what it is.
Yeah, because
But,
they've to share it.
but I mean,
Ireland don't call up any Munster boys, so they're going to have almost a full team.
they don't call. I don't know. Apparently, the Ireland A, they lost like 5 players on that game due to injury. So, which is nuts. Apparently, they were just dropping like flies.
Mm.
So I don't know. I feel like it'd be such an Edinburgh thing to get beat by Zebra and then beat Munster away. I feel like that's such an Edinburgh thing to do.
Uh-huh.
I just don't know how,
Yeah.
where, like where we're going to win the game and by how much. I would love to
Thing,
see it.
to keep Edinburgh's playoff spots alive, they need to win that. After like their playoff hopes took a huge dent getting beat at home to Zebra Parma. Like we
I
both had that
mean,
back to 5 pointer.
yeah, I mean, especially the team we put out, but like, I don't know. I mean, Wes Houston's not getting time off anytime soon.
Felling's out again. Again.
It's his hamstring this time. It's not his back, but yeah, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
I'm hoping that that's just the fact he's not played in so long and maybe it's his body needs a bit of time to limber up. But
Maybe.
if he's becoming that injury prone, mm, I don't
Mm.
want to. I'm not going to say anything more on that because I've already been negative on a lot of players and managers.
Anyway, well,
I'm going to speak in your reputation.
I'll say Edinburgh by one, just because of the whole back your team thing. But
Yeah.
it's now like I, it is like a mindset, but I have noticed I've dug myself into a corner. when I say stuff like that as well, the back your team stuff, but it's fine. Anyway, Glasgow versus Ospreys.
Just like the Dragons game, I think that Glasgow will be too strong. And for the time being, I want Glasgow to stop playing Welsh teams. Like, I don't want any Welsh eyes on Glasgow at the moment because I don't
Although,
want the Welsh boys sitting there going, that could
but
be our guy soon
that
enough.
could be our guy, yeah.
Watching their province
Although
get.
I think it's going to be tighter because I think Wales have released 5 players back to the Ospreys,
Have they?
so it's going to be interesting. I still think Glasgow win, especially at home.
Mm.
But
If do you release Stain back to Glasgow?
I would,
Or
just because he's not played since January. I would.
yeah,
What do you mean release back? He's not in the Scotland team.
yeah. Well, I'm just assuming we went straight in, but
I
uh,
think you'll probably find because it's a foul week, another fucking foul week. Stein
mhm.
will probably come off the bench or start. He's not going to do the full 80 either way for Glasgow this weekend, and then Monday, this coming Monday, Kyle Stein's back in the Scotland team and is available for selection against Wales. Cool beans.
I think that we're going to go 5-3 against Wales. So I suspect that Dobie will be released back to Glasgow and they'll keep Horn this time. Like when people go,
Mm.
oh, why does he hate
Why does I
George
hate
Horn?
Horn? He doesn't.
He doesn't. We've said this before. That I think if it's a 5-3, he goes with Horn, but if it's 6-2, he goes with Dobie on the bench.
That's fair.
So I suspect he's going to go 5-3 against Wales. So I'm expecting to see Dobie getting um, given back to Glasgow, Stain. You probably think Jack Mann will go back, unless Jack Mann's going to play against Wales.
Maybe. Who knows?
That's
Time will
going
tell.
to be interesting. That is going to be really. When squads come out? Is it tomorrow
For what?
for the Glasgow game?
Edinburgh's will come out tomorrow, and Glasgow's will come out on the Friday because I think they're a Sunday fixture. I believe. No, they're not. No, they're not. A Saturday. They're on the first. That's a Saturday. Oh, Mike, both teams might
Edinburgh
come
do
out
they
tomorrow.
2 days before, do they? And Edinburgh do theirs
Yeah,
Monday.
I forgot the URC doesn't really do Sunday games. So, yeah, both teams will probably come out tomorrow. And yeah, that's pretty much a wrap. We'll come back next week and discuss the clubs briefly and then dive into the Wales game
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks for listening. We will see you all next week.
at some point. Yeah, enjoy, subscribe, comment,
Yeah.
share with us. Share with us your thoughts. But until next week, have a good one.